Hello, everyone. This is Dylan Martell. Welcome back to Air and Sea with Dylan. This is the story of the gas tank build. So, unfortunately, on my second time out, or second to last time out last year, 2024, I got a really nasty smell when I was down in my cuddy. And as you can see from the picture on the screen, there is a small tube towards the top. And then you can see as it kind of runs down towards the pump where the rag is, that tube extends all the way into the front of the cuddy. So what was happening was the gas tank is in between the cuddy and the bilge area underneath the motor. And the fuel tank, being aluminum, had basically started to crack. Aluminum ages and gets very brittle as it gets older. So, after years and years of bouncing around the lake, having gasoline in it, and just becoming brittle naturally over time, the tank decided to fail at the welds. From there, the gasoline would seep through the spray foam, which we'll see later, and would run into this tube. This tube is for water that gets into the cuddy to come down into the bilge. There's also two undersea coolers where when the ice melts in the coolers, it runs right down into the bilge for disposal later when you unplug the back of the boat. This is not a good picture. This was really terrible. The boat completely reeked of gas and obviously creates a massive explosive hazard when you have raw gasoline in your bilge. There are fuel vapors, and this is why you have to run your blower for up to 5 minutes beforehand. So I'm honestly very lucky. This could have been very dangerous. This could have been very bad, but we were able to fix it, to correct it, and yeah, please stick along for the journey as I talk through this slideshow. So the fun begins by cleaning up all of the current gas that was down in the bilge. And then from there, I needed to get all of the gas out of the tank. I spent about 2 hours pumping it all out by hand through this center hole. You can see here, there's three holes. The one in the middle is the one where the fuel sending unit is that tells the gas gauge how much gas is in the tank. I unbolted that and basically hand pumped it out with this like siphoning type thing. That's honestly the best way I could think of at the time. There was still a little bit of extra gas in it, but I ended up baking the tank and getting all of the remaining gas out of it prior to cutting onto it. So yeah, I started cutting up the floor or the carpet. You can see there at the larger hole at the top. That's where the gas comes in and the vapors go out when you're filling it up with gas. Turning back around here, you can see that I have unbolted the bump that covers the motor. We had done some exploratory surgery by starting to cut the carpet. So yeah, the tank is embedded right here in the floor. We have no idea kind of what we're doing. We're just kind of poking and hoping to hopefully not screw anything up. We unbolted the seats. You can kind of see where we'd taken our very first cut, and then we were able to reveal the tank. So you can see here, now that we have the board cut out, you can see there's some cross members that actually hold the tank in place. And then if you look, you can see the yellow spray foam that was added later to actually lock the tank down. We honestly kind of got lucky when cutting this apart. If you look over to by the captain's chair, you can see that there's that side of the cavity there. We didn't nick that. We were very careful with the saw. But then we had to take these two boards out, unbutton the rest of the connections, the tube that goes to the motor, the tubes that fill up the tank. And then once we chiseled some of the spray foam out, it was go time. You can see the miniature hacksaw air tool that I got to use to start cutting this tank apart. It was super, super helpful. It ate through the aluminum like butter. Does not like stainless, so I'll never get to do it like that again. But this was very, very helpful. After ensuring via scope that there was no gas left in the tank, we started cutting it out. As you can see, it's an absolute just disaster inside of this thing. So I started sectioning the tank out. You can see I have one of the internal baffles cut apart. Then it was time to try to pull this thing out. And here's a quick pan of what you can see I'm working on here. All right. So this is called a sheet hook. So I should be fully transparent here. They obviously don't make these gas tanks off the shelf anymore. My family owns and runs a small sheet metal and CNC machining company called Triangle Metal Fab, located in Milton, Vermont. And our primary area of expertise is aerospace and defense, but we obviously still have the capability to do home projects and commercial projects. I am actually a commercial salesperson. So Triangle is the company that did fabricate this tank. Moving on from that, this is a sheet hook, and a sheet hook is used to pick up sheets and plates of different metals to move them around. You press the handle a specific way, and that allows you to grip it over the edge. And then when you start to pull on it, it grips. There's like a serrated tooth in there that really hangs on to it. As you can see from the spray foam here, it was really in there. This is a 5-ton overhead crane that you can't necessarily see, and this took some prying. It took two people plus a sheet hook with a 5-ton crane to rip this out of the cavity in the boat. It was very, very intense. So once the tank was out, we were able to really get a good idea for what type of nastiness awaited us underneath this 40-year-old gas tank that was leaking. You can see that in the very front there, you can see where some of the leaking was. And then this is also a better shot of those tubes that come down in. So I spent some time trying to clean all of this out a little bit later, but yeah, this is what it looked like immediately following it being pulled out. It's pretty gross. We had to clean all of this up and take care of it. Once the old tank was out, we got right to work measuring it up and using SolidWorks to draw it all. I've used SolidWorks quite a bit. We use it a lot at work. So once we got it drawn up, we were able to start laser cutting parts out and making shop drawings. Parts got lasered out, then they got bent. Started doing some test fit up and some tacking. This is a good shot of the internal baffles. We basically tried to copy the stainless tank. That's the other thing I should tell you. The old one was an eighth of an inch aluminum. This one is, I believe, 060 or 075 stainless steel. So it's quite a bit heavier, but it'll never rust. It should never, ever rot again. Here's some of the fittings that we made up to match up with the holes that they're going to get welded to. So I went around and copied all of the different fittings that I needed and hole patterns. This is one of the female threaded adapters that got welded on. We got that off a McMaster car. This is some of the internal welding of the baffles on the inside of the gas tank. Kudos to Trevor. He's an awesome welder. Here's the gas tank flipped upside down. This is prior to some of the other outside welding getting done. This is after the tubes got tacked on. We're starting to do some fit up. We're figuring out where some of these tabs are going to go. Again, everything was pretty much directly copied from the old one. Here's a good quick video of some dime laying action going on. And this is the completed tank, or almost completed tank. It doesn't have the sending unit in the center yet. But at this point in time, it was time to pressurize it. We ended up blocking all these things off and hooking the air hose up to it. And we ran 3 PSI on it. While we were running that amount of pressure on it, we went and sprayed all the seams with soapy water, and luckily no bubbles. This right here is a shot of the internal cavity prior to putting the tank in. You can see I had started to chisel all the spray foam down that I could. We ultimately ended up leaving the bottom portion of it, except for the two ends that were really disgusting. Those all got chiseled out. The wall over to the left by that tube, that whole wall ended up having to get replaced because of rot. There's a better shot of that. We ended up having to cut that whole portion of wall out and remake it. We pre-foamed this prior to putting the new tank in there, but this got cleaned up pretty good. That whole thing was just gross, and it's a lot better now. We ended up doing a big plywood build on it. You can see some of that here. You can see it's all coated in Flex Seal. It was all put together really nice. I was very, very happy with it. Here we're getting ready to actually start putting that tank back down in the cavity. Wrestling this thing down in there was a lot of fun. You can see we started getting some stuff hooked up. Getting those two tubes up at the top where the fill to fill the gas tank was an absolute nightmare, but we got that done too. Um, Here's another video. This is one of my popular shorts I have right now. I went and put 5 gallons of gas in it just to test it out.
Gotta spray foam it in now.
And yeah, that's what we did. It ran great. No issues. There's just a shot of that connection. This was obviously a very critical part. This is cool. This is where someone at the factory wrote 230 for 230 Scorpion. And then it was time to start buttoning it up. We put in a new piece of 3/4 Advantech. We'd done some reinforcement that obviously I don't have pictures of everything, but we did some reinforcement underneath to get this all put back together. Once it was construction glued down and screwed in really well, we did several coats of water-based polyurethane. This is where we hooked up the gas tank sending unit. I'm going to make a small video at some point on how to set this. This is a cool piece of 80s technology. You roll it. Once there's electrical current going through it, you can roll it and actually make your gas gauge go up or down. And this is how you set it. Video on that to follow. While everything was apart, I went through and did some extra cleaning. This is the engine compartment bump. I had a bunch of shredded bumps that were on top of it. You can see in some of my older videos, the top 3 bumps are ripped. So pulled those off, brought them to the recovery room in Colchester, Vermont. Ron hooked it up. But I had to clean this. You don't want to bolt really nice parts and pieces on the crappy old stuff. So this is the engine thing all cleaned up. Speaking of Ron at the recovery room, we picked out some new carpet, and the one in the middle here is what I went with. It actually matched pretty well to the old 40-year-old carpet that's still on the sides. Here is that carpet. We're starting to get it cut up and kind of figured out what we're going to need for a piece. So we pre-trimmed it a little bit after doing once we got it kind of measured up, we pre-cut it and started putting it in. These little areas, we ended up putting carpet in and creating a seam, as it was going to be difficult to try to pull all of this out to carpet underneath it directly. As you can see, there's a tiny little piece of it in there with some glue, and then we ended up just trying to lay it the best we could. The battery box that I ended up building and bolted over this one, so that was cool. The glue we used was called Roberts 6700. This was the best option that would adhere to the type of carpet we were using and to the water-based polyurethane that was being used and coated on the boards. But carpeting this boat really got me out of my comfort zone. I've never done a lot of carpentry. I make tons of stuff out of metal. Being a sales guy, I do lots of project management. So I'm good at managing projects, but getting my hands dirty and anything other than metal related is definitely kind of foreign to me. I do work on a lot of stuff, but carpentry and carpet is just not my thing. So this was really kind of cool to get the experience. This is where we started rolling it out and trying to get it mocked up and pushed down as best we could so that the glue adhered to it very well. This is a back outside. So this is after I'd gotten those center pieces locked in. You can see that we're doing a little bit of extra trimming. I got the staple gun out to fix some of the stuff that was falling apart. Here is a shot after I have the bump bolted back in. As you can see, the carpet's all done and the center caps have been put back in. I think I just vacuumed here in this picture. And then Ron gave me a call and got my bumps back. So those got bolted to the top and everything was ready to rock and roll again. Definitely quite the process. It tested good. I learned a lot. It was definitely cheaper because I did it, but it was also a very difficult project. but that's okay. I'm glad I got it done. I'm glad it worked. I can't thank my team and the guys at the shop enough for giving me a hand because I couldn't have done it without them. Thank you so much for sticking around this long. If you have, I know it obviously been a lot cooler to have this all videotaped much better. I hadn't started trying to do a YouTube channel yet, and that's okay. But going forward, projects will be a lot more smoother. I'll have some better video for everything versus just talking over a bunch of pictures. But this is the most invasive project I think I'll ever have to do on this boat. So it was important to make sure that it at least got talked about and I was able to put together all the progress pictures to show you. I do have a bonus picture here that shows how I remade some vents. That's the old plastic vent. And then I had the guys draw me up something new. And we made a new one out of aluminum, as you can see above. And then I had them powder coated. If you happen to have one of these boats and you have the same type of issue, I'd love to help you out. I'd love to hear from you anyways. If you do have another Chris Craft, I don't think they're very popular or common anymore. And I think it'd be good to connect, check them out. If you could, please like this video, give me a like, subscribe. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for being here with me on this journey. Look forward to doing this more and stay tuned for some winterizing.